and Lively was reportedly hurt by their lyrics referencing a jealous friend with a silver screen smile.
Yeah, we've lost some talk.
Hi and welcome to Flawsome Talk. I'm Tashley Flaw, journalist, Hollywood truth teller, and your voice of reason in a town built on delusion. First of all, thank you so much for all your support, all your comments, and all your messages, your emails, and your DMs. And welcome to all new subscribers. And if you haven't hit the notification bell yet, please do so you never miss an episode of Flawsome Talk. Okay, so let's dive right in, you guys. Yesterday, I reported on this story that TMZ reported on that turned out to be really, really embarrassing for them. So if you missed that, maybe you should watch that episode first. It is about this podcast that Travis Kelce and his brother published a year ago, and then they republished it now, and basically they're saying in this podcast that Blake Lively is their friend. TMZ reported on it, then they got a quote from someone close to Blake saying Blake was so pleasantly surprised by it, and then they realized it was a year old. Anyway, someone sent me this live recording from their studio when they realized that this was a year old, and we have some really interesting information that Harvey revealed about Taylor and someone he spoke to close to Taylor and what she said about Blake. Also, there's a story about how Taylor Swift made sure not to get any questions about Blake or Ryan during her entire press tour for her new album. And then there's a really heartbreaking story in Harper's Bazaar where Jennifer Aniston is opening up about her infertility issues, something she hasn't really spoken about before. Also, Brian Friedman is sued by this guy who he used to represent because now he represents Baldoni. It's a big mess. And I have to show you the most awkward moment of the red carpet this week with Sarah Jessica Parker and her husband. So stay tuned. This episode is going to be packed. Okay, so let's get into this TMZ situation. This made me laugh so hard. Thank you for sending me this. So they have these live streams from their newsroom at TMZ. And they did have a live stream while this thing happened, while they realized that Travis Kelce podcast was a year old. And Harvey, the big boss, was really taken off guard by this. And you could see it by his reaction. He was like, oh my God.
Blake Lively?
Blake Lively?
Yeah.
It's 11 months old.
What?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
From an episode, they reposted it on the New Heights site.
Yeah, did nobody figure that out?
We just did. You think that they would repost that where they're saying such nice things about Blake without Taylor knowing they were going to do that?
What was the lead story?
Without Taylor.
What was the lead?
It wasn't a story. It was just a movie review.
Trying to justify our fuck up.
No,
I love how his co-host here was really trying to justify it, and Harvey was like, no, we can't justify this. This is embarrassing. And then they start arguing about whose fault it is, and everyone's trying to find someone to blame. Also, there is a really interesting quote from Harvey that I wanted to point out. Listen to this.
All I can say is this. I spoke to somebody very close to Taylor. She felt utterly betrayed by Blake.
I
felt that Blake was using her, not just in that situation, but with other actresses where she produced.
Yes, he's saying that he spoke to someone very close to Taylor, maybe her dad, I don't know, and she said that Taylor felt utterly betrayed by Blake and that Blake was using her. And then he said, not just in that situation, but with other actresses. And then he gets cut off. Annoyingly, this guy cuts him off. But the fact that he's saying that Taylor also reacted to not just that situation, but the way that Blake had treated the other actresses. Maybe Taylor knows something here of how Blake has pushed both Isabella Ferrer and Jenny Slate to be on her side. It kind of sounded like that. I wish Harvey would have been able to finish that train of thought, because that is important information that Taylor actually knew that Blake had put pressure on other actresses. So yeah, can't you write a story about that, TMZ? Anyways, as I said yesterday, this whole scenario was so embarrassing, and they ended up deleting that follow-up article where Blake Lively came out with a comment, or a source close to her said that she was pleasantly surprised, an article that also Daily Mail picked up before they actually deleted it. So it's still out there on the internet, which I find quite funny. When I watch this now, I think probably TMZ deleted it themselves, and this is really embarrassing. This whole thing, this whole scenario, as I said yesterday, is so embarrassing for everyone involved. And I think especially for Blake, who came out and said that she was pleasantly surprised by this. Also, you have to remember that she did react to this story a year ago when it actually happened. So did she just forget about that? Or there's so many things that it doesn't really make any sense to me. But at least TMZ is owning up to their mistake here, which I think is honorable. So there's this story here about Taylor Swift doing her press tour. She's been doing so many interviews. I've never seen anyone do so much promotion for anything before. Every day she's on another talk show. She's on all the British radio shows. I mean, she's everywhere. I feel like I'm a little Taylor Swift fatigue at this point. I don't know about you guys, but anyways, now it's come to light that she's actually, or her reps has actually sent out a warning to everyone before they interview her. And it says here that talking about or mentioning Blake or Ryan on or even off camera is off limits. It says here, according to a source, that the singer's team has reportedly sent a strict no-go list, instructing them not to ask any questions about Lively or Ryan Reynolds during her press tour for the album The Life of A Showgirl. And it says that recently, when the pop singer launched her album, people thought they had reconciled. The actor even liked Swift's Instagram post celebrating the release of her album, which seemed like a subtle show of support. Yeah, that ridiculous like. I feel like, of course, Blake wants to be friends with Taylor again. But I feel it's so telling that Blake never liked Taylor's engagement post. If she was a friend and she wanted to support her, she didn't support her when she got engaged, but she supports her when she releases a new album, because so many outlets said that that song was an olive branch, cancelled. That song was an olive branch to Blake Lively. So now she's like, oh, okay, now she wants to be my friend. Now I can click like, but I didn't click like when she got engaged. Then I didn't wish her anything well. Not a good friend, if you ask me. Yeah, I think she needs to do a little more of an effort to win Taylor back than to just like her Instagram post. Anyway, it says here that, however, it seems like things are still tense between the two of them. A new report by Shutter Scoop, Rob Shutter, who is amazing and having all this inside info. He has a lot of sources on the inside of the industry, and his source suggests that Swift doesn't want to address any questions about her former bestie and her partner Reynolds. The source revealed that Swift's team has sent strict guidelines to all major outlets, instructing them not to mention Lively or her husband, both on and off camera. An insider here reveals that Taylor's team made it crystal clear Blake is off limits. They're not in a good place, and Taylor doesn't want it overshadowing her album or engagement news. And apparently it says here that since the launch of Swift's album, the reported former friends have been making headlines sparking speculations. People thought that the track Cancel refers to Swift's personal relationship with the Gossip Girl actor, and Lively was reportedly hurt by the lyrics referencing a jealous friend with a silver screen smile. Yeah, Blake was hurt. Of course, that was really hurtful that someone said that about her. If that's true, after she tried to blackmail her and pressure her and said that she would release all the text messages between them from the last 10 years. Yes, I understand. She was hurt by that. So yes, as I've been trying to say for so long, I don't think they're friends. They're not friends. Taylor and Blake are not friends. These things happened in the industry. I haven't been asked that many times not to mention a specific thing. Usually when I've done these like press junkets for films, it's been more like, you know, please keep it to the movie and stuff like that. There was once I was asked not to ask Jane Fonda about politics. And I remember once I was asked not to ask Michael Douglas about his mom who had passed like 2 days earlier. But apart from that, I never had any strict guidelines. The thing is, if you're in this industry and you work as me, as kind of a freelancer, you know that you'll be blacklisted and left out of the circle for a long time if you are asking inappropriate questions. It's different when you work for a big outlet or there's a big TV show, maybe a live show, you know, you can get away with a lot more because, of course, they have more power. Like I remember when I did an interview with BBC, we talked about the Anne Hathaway situation with me and Blake Lively, and they say that they never accept to go in and do a press junket with the talent unless they can bring their own camera crew. That means that they own everything and they're in control of the situation. So yeah, that's how it works. People like me, we have no power. Anyways, let's talk about Jennifer Aniston. I was a little sad when I read this story. So she's opening up for to Harper's Bazaar about her infertility issues. She spoke about it once before, but she's never been so open like she is today. And she's really opening up about how everyone was speculating that, you know, the reason for her not having kids was because she put her career before everything and that was more important to her than having kids. And that's not true. And she never came out and actually denied any rumors because she felt like, you know, I know the truth, my friends and family know the truth, so I don't have to. She says here that they didn't know my story or what I'd been going through over the past 20 years to try to pursue a family because I don't go out there and tell them my medical woes. And she said that her medical matters are not anybody's business. But there comes a point when you can't not hear it. The narrative about how I won't have a baby, won't have a family because I'm selfish or a workaholic. Aniston admitted that she's affected by the rumors, adding that she's just a human being. And she says here that the news cycle is so fast, it just goes away. Of course, there are times when I felt that sense of justice when something has been said that isn't true, and I need to right the wrong. I mean, I remember when I worked for a women's magazine back in Norway before I moved to the US, and I remember when we had Jennifer Aniston on the cover of the magazine, we sold twice as many copies. She has this special force that makes people so interested in her. And I think a lot of that comes down to her unfortunate in men and, you know, the fact that she's been single for so many years. And there's something about us that makes us really root for her. And I think that's because, you know, that whole scandalous divorce from Brad Pitt. And of course, the fact that she never had children. It's always fascinating to me how the single women and men in Hollywood get so much more attention because people get much more interested in their personal life. And I think they even get more roles because of that. And Jennifer Aniston is such a good example of that. She had a huge success with Friends, obviously, but also that she has been so relevant for so many years. It's really rare that a woman in her 50s are getting so much attention and have so many fans. She broke Instagram when she joined just 4 or 5 years ago. That's how powerful Jennifer Aniston is, and that's how interested and connected we feel with her, I think. So in this interview, she admits that when she was with Brad, they were doing IVF and she really tried to create a family with him. And she explains here that she did talk about this in 2022. And she says, because I knew a lot of women at the time who were trying to have kids who were dealing with IVF. So I did feel like it was not only for myself, but for any woman who were struggling with the same issue. I think that's very powerful that she comes out and talks about this because there are a lot of women who really wants to have children, who can't have them. But then she says, if it wasn't for going through that, I would never become who I was meant to be. That's why I have such gratitude for all those essay things. And then she clarified that she was really trying to get pregnant several years ago. And it says here that Aniston said that despite media speculations that she had no interest in being a mom, she had been going through IVF, drinking Chinese teas for years in an attempt to get pregnant. I was throwing everything at it. I would have given anything if someone had said to me, freeze your eggs, do yourself a favor. You just don't think it. So here I am today. The ship has sailed. That makes me really sad. I think that was really heartbreaking to read. And she says, there is no more. Can I? Maybe. I don't have to think about that anymore, she said. I can't even begin to imagine how hard it must have been for her to go through it when every magazine, I think it was every second week, for like years and years, everyone was speculating, Jennifer Aniston is pregnant. How many times have you read that on a cover of a magazine? Jennifer Aniston is pregnant. It's insane. I think kind of it came from a good place because people really wanted her to become pregnant. And I remember the first time I interviewed her, that was in 2008. And that was my first press junket that I ever did. And the TV show that I did this for was my first gig for them. And they gave me a list of questions. And they were so inappropriate. And I was just looking at them and I was like, okay, I just have to ask these things. It was terrible. I had to ask if she was actually dating Gerard Butler at the time because they were in the movie together and there were some rumors about them. It was horrible. But she was so sweet to me. And as soon as I sat down, she really tried her best to pronounce my name. I've showed this clip before, but I just wanted to show it again because she was so sweet to me.
What's your last name?
Q. FLA is my last name.
FLA?
I don't know why I'm wondering what it is. Her name was just very interesting. Say it again.
My first name is Shashti.
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 Do you have a short nickname?
I call myself Kirsty. Because,
Kirsty? Okay, that's your name. Now I would not know. If I saw that, I'd go... Kirsty Fla?
Everyone does that.
Do they?
That's why I say Kirsty.
Kirsty!
Yeah.
You look like a Kirsty.
I do.
Pretty color purple.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I have a soft spot for Jennifer Aniston. After that, she's not the easiest person to interview. She's kind of guarded, but I feel like she really was the first person I interviewed and she gave me such a good head start of my career for being so nice to me. So I will always, always appreciate that. Anyways, let's get over to something a little more disturbing here because the Hollywood Reporter is reporting on this story that Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, is being sued. So in 2022, Brian Friedman settled this case where he was actually representing the opposite part of a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni. So Baldoni and the Wayfarer had been accused of stealing an idea for a movie. The guy who sued them was then represented by Brian Friedman. He died a few years later, and this was settled in 2022, as I said. And then, as you know, 2 years later, Brian Friedman chose to represent Justin Baldoni. And now the estate from this person is suing Brian Friedman for malpractice. And the thing is, this case was basically terminated. It's no word that it was even a settlement. And Brian Friedman has said the reason why he decided to actually represent Baldoni and the Wayfarer after this was because he realized they were really good people. And I think when he was representing the opposite part, that he got an impression, of course, of what kind of people Baldoni and the Wayfarer are. And the fact that the case got terminated means something here. I find this timing a bit interesting right now. Of course, you know how Blake Lively has been after Brian Friedman to paint him in a bad light. They're saying he's a part of this smear campaign. So I think all of this kind of information they are going to use in their attack on both Baldoni and Brian Friedman, because this kind of put Baldoni also in a bad light because they say, okay, this case was terminated, but this guy was accusing Baldoni of being a thief and stealing his idea to begin with. So there must be some truth to this. And that's why I think they're going to use this. And that's why I'm like, this timing is a bit suspicious to me. Why do this right now? They already terminated this case 3 years ago. So yeah, talking about suspicious timing, I think this definitely is that. All right, as I said, I have a very awkward moment from the red carpet that I wanted to share with you guys. This just popped up in my feed and I felt so bad for Matthew Broderick, who is married to Sarah Jessica Parker. As you know, they've been together for a really long time. And of course, Sarah Jessica Parker is the more like, you know, she's been more out there than him. She's been more successful, I guess we could say that, than he has with all her successful TV shows. And at this event, she was wearing this beautiful, amazing, like over-the-top fashion statement. And Matthew Broderick was like this just regular middle-aged man just standing next to her. And you can see all the paparazzis are there and they're screaming at them. And they're just trying to get Matthew Broderick out of the way. And I think this was just like, oh my God, I felt for him.
One last fashion, Sarah. Know yourself. Sarah, one last fashion. Solo. One last fashion. Right here. Perfect. Right in the middle.
Yeah, they're like, get out of the picture. Matthew, we don't want you here. We want Solo. And she's like, okay. And then he's just like, okay, I'll just walk and stand over here until they finish taking photos of my wife. They don't want me on the red carpet. That's so brutal. I felt so bad for him. Anyways, you guys, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, of course. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do check if you've been unsubscribed, because as I said many times, it does happen to a lot of people. For some reason, YouTube just keep unsubscribing people, or maybe there are other forces. Maybe there are bots out there doing it for you. I don't know. But check if you have been unsubscribed. And yes, share, like, hype, all that good stuff. Join Team Flawsome by pressing join underneath here, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah, we flawsome talk.